Hey everybody, it's Warwolf here. Yeah, if you've noticed, my walls are a little bit bare. We've been doing some renovations over here at the apartment. Not by choice, it's just what's being thrown at us. So I'll have the hiccups. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Now, for those of you who have been following my recent videos, you know that I've been covering the events of the hashtag Cockygate. Well, I got some good news, actually. Unless I'm really misinterpreting all of this, it's over. For now. Cockygate started a couple of months back, actually about a year ago, although nobody knew it, when Ms. Felina Hopkins decided she was going to try to trademark the word cocky for her books. This basically led to a massive outcry from the writing community. And it kind of got into, basically, it started out more or less like any internet flame war, let's call it that. And what ended up happening is that she was trying to claim that she was doing this to defend her brand. And this was because she had basically put the word cocky in a number of titles in a book series called The Cocker Brothers of Atlanta. If she had trademarked the Cocker Brothers of Atlanta, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye. But this led to Mr. Kevin Nooper. Again, I cannot pronounce the guy's last name. Kevin, if you're watching this, I do apologize. I've never been able to understand off the top of my head how I'm actually supposed to pronounce your name. I do apologize. Anybody who's been following the hashtag Cockygate on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, whatever you're using, again, let me repeat. Apparently it is over. I was on Twitter earlier today and I saw the news that she has apparently surrendered all of her claims to the name, word, and everything else. So she has surrendered any and all claim to the trademark for cocky. This means she no longer has a trademark on the word. She no longer has a trademark on the font, although that's a whole other issue. So I still don't know how that's going to play out because there could be some legal ramifications there for her still. The trial with Miss Crescent and Miss Watson apparently has been settled. And in fact, the plaintiffs have asked for a dismissal of the suit with prejudice. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Law is nowhere near my strong point. But from what little I can understand of this basically means they cannot bring this case back to court except under extraordinary circumstances due to the fact that apparently they've reached a settlement. We don't know what that settlement is. Theoretically, we might never find out. I guess you could possibly do a Freedom of Information Act, maybe request, but I don't know if it matters. I mean, for all we know, the court could have sealed the records. Either way, long story short, we've got this for the time being settled. Ms. Hopkins has, again, surrendered all claim to cocky, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure with time, you know, the writing community will be more than willing to welcome, sorry about that, Felina back with open arms after some time to let the events of the last basically year and a half cool down. The problem that we now face is that, as much as I hate to say it, Felina really opened a big, big door for people who want to try to do what she... Effectively, she's inspired copycats. That's what's happened. Including an individual who was trying to defend her actions during the events of the trial and the various back and forth that was going on. Now, this guy has tried to trademark terms like Destroyer, Dragon Slayer, a couple of other terms. The really strange part is he's kind of accelerated to an even more bizarre step, where he's trying to trademark cover designs now, Literally, he's tried to trademark the idea of a cover with anybody either holding a weapon or a silhouette of anybody holding a weapon. Considering that just about anything can be interpreted as a weapon under very, very broad parameters, if you really wanted to, that's very dangerous. So I do, again, recommend if you look up, I believe it's CockyBot, which is a Twitter account that is now basically designed to report on frivolous trademarks and the like. Please keep up with that. For everybody who was involved with Cockygate on the actual legal side of things or just in trying to keep the news active and alive, again, that's Miss Susan Tisdale, Kevin Knepper, Mark Whipple, the Romance Writers of America, their lawyers the lawyers from Ms. Watson and Ms. Crescent, who actually, I believe, had taken the case originally pro bono. The Romance Writers of America, of course, getting involved as well. I believe the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America are getting involved in something else going on because somebody's trying to trademark the term quantum quirks or something. So, yeah, again, she has unfortunately inspired copycats. So we're going to be dealing this for a while. There will be repercussions to Cockygate, but the good thing is the originator of this crap, Cocky itself, is no longer under trademark. Cockygate itself has effectively been resolved. Now we've basically got to deal with, I don't know, should we call it Trademark Gate or something? Or TM Gate, something like that. Because at this point, Cockygate has led to a lot of frivolous trademarks, and we've got to keep the fight going. We've got to let these people know it's not okay to be copycats. Felina has hopefully realized what she has done was wrong. Hopefully she will do her best to try to mend fences. And again, the writing community, as far as I can tell, has always been reasonably welcoming and accepting. Unless there's literally like a personal grudge between two very specific writers, I really don't ever see a case of the writing community turning on other writers for any real reason at all. All right? You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. You know, I said this when I was speaking directly to Felina over a couple of my videos. Writers have one job, especially if they're fiction writers. That's to write and to get their books out there. And especially if they're writing fiction, to entertain people. We shouldn't be causing drama amongst ourselves if we can avoid it. Obviously, no one person is perfect. We all have our issues. So to Felina, I will say thank you for coming to your senses and surrendering the trademark on Cocky. Now, again, I'm going to say this. That's the great first step. The next step is, again, try to mend fences. You know, the writing community is very open, welcoming, and forgiving, I think. So try to just, you know, do the best you can do. And eventually, most people probably forget that this ever came up as an issue, at least with you. For those people who are copying Felina's trademark, I don't know if I want to call it trademark trolling, but her, shall we say, fraudulent trademarks, to be reasonably, you know, polite and accurate about this, don't continue in this vein, all right? Because you're just going to, I don't know if you're doing it because you want to raise awareness of what was going on with Felina. I don't know if you're doing it to try to raise your own author profile. All it's going to do is it's going to lead to backlash towards you. All right? Anybody who has seen what happened to Felina's reputation with this clearly can understand what's going on here, or at least should be able to, I hope. We don't need trademarks made on terms, on cover designs, whatever, unless that trademark is something very, very specific. And I'm sorry, somebody holding a weapon is not a specific design. That is so commonplace, it's not even funny. All right? Again, we do not need authors attacking other authors. We do not need Cockygate to become worse than it already was. Please, please, for the love of God, knock this off. Surrender the trademarks you have. All right? If you're trying to say, oh, we're trying to create a brand, I'm sorry. You don't have a brand right now. If most people don't know you exist, you don't have a brand. This was actually one of the things that Felina had said she was doing the trademark on cocky for, was that she was trying to protect her brand or create a brand. I don't know. Her name is her brand. All right? Most people don't know who Felina is. Most people would not necessarily care who she is. She will have her readers, and that would be it. But her brand is her author name. To put it in perspective, look at Stephen King. Look at Dean Koontz. Their names are their brand. Look at J.K. Rowling, whatever. Before Harry Potter became hot enough to be a brand, and it took a long time to happen, her name was her brand. Her name still is her brand. Because everybody knows J.K. Rowling. Not everybody will know that her real name is Joanne Rowling or whatever. I don't know what the case stands for. So, because that's just the way it goes. All right? Harry Potter has become a brand, or rather the Wizarding World has become a brand. That's where we've got the Harry Potter films. That's where we've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, etc., etc. That's a brand, but it took almost 20 years for that to become a brand. But that's a specific type of entertainment brand. And I'm sorry, Dragon Slayer is not a brand. That's generic as sin. All right? People holding weapons on covers is generic as all get out. It's been done since at least the 1800s. All right? Definitely been done since at least as far back as the 1930s. Whether this is sci-fi weaponry, mundane weaponry, high fantasy weaponry, you name it. So yeah, Destroyer, yeah, I'm sorry, that's not a brand. That's not something you can defend. That's a generic word term. This is the same thing as with Cockygate. All right? We now have, instead of Cockygate, we have Trademarkgate. We don't need Trademarkgate. What we need is for the writing community to settle down, not follow in this very, very dangerous path that was accidentally opened up when Felina decided she was going to do this. She has realized the error of her ways. She has surrendered cocky as far as a trademark goes. Please follow in those footsteps, so this way we don't have this as an issue that we have to keep fighting again and again and again and again. You think it sounds monotonous when I'm saying it? Imagine how much of an issue it is where people have to keep writing letters of protest to stop things like this from reoccurring. Please, for the love of God, your names are your brand. If you have a series, that's great, but unless your series ends up on friggin' movies or TV, they're not a brand. All right? That is the name of a series. Yes, that's going to be recognizable, but it's not a brand. It's a book series. You didn't see Stephen King trademark The Dark Tower, at least not as far as I'm aware. All right? He has some of the best-known books of the modern day. He has never tried to trademark the titles that I'm aware of. Nobody tried to trademark The Lord of the Rings. Yes, there's a certain amount of control that the Tolkien estate has over it, but that's not necessarily something you could have called a brand probably until the early 2000s, when all of a sudden Peter Jackson was able to get the rights to try to film what many people claimed was going to be an unfilmable book series, book trilogy, whatever you want to call it. For those people who don't know, the original uncut version of The Lord of the Rings was a doorstop. It was a giant brick that was thankfully split up into 3 books by the editors. Yes, The Lord of the Rings is a recognizable title. It's a recognizable series. But it did not become a brand until well after the creator's death. All right? And even to this day, Professor Tolkien's work is known by one brand. And it's not The Lord of the Rings. It's not The Hobbit. It's not Middle-earth. It's Tolkien. his name, 30, 40, 50, 60, even a century from now into the future, his name is his brand. You may not necessarily remember The Hobbit. You may not necessarily remember Middle-earth as a brand name. A century from now, we may not even remember that this was a brand in any way, shape, or form. But if you say J.R.R. Tolkien, oh, the guy who wrote The Lord of the Rings, the guy who wrote The Hobbit. He's the brand, people. He's the brand. Stephen King, the guy who wrote The Dark Tower, the guy who wrote Carrie, the guy who wrote The Shining. He's the brand. The books themselves are not the brand unless they get some kind of multimedia success. And most people, I'm sorry to say it, are not ever going to have that kind of success. I would love that kind of success. I don't think there's a writer in the world who wouldn't. But the books are not the brand. Yes, people are going to want to see great stuff from a series if they love that series. Make no question of this. Make no question. But it is not and never will be the series title that is the brand. Again, not unless they get some kind of multimedia influence. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, these are all things that we're very lucky. All right? Most of us aren't going to have that kind of luck. The immortality we're going to have is going to lay in our work. And you know what really makes our work stand out? It's not the name of a series. It's not even necessarily the name of a character, although the characters may become as beloved as anything written by Ms. Rowling, Professor Tolkien, or anyone from Tolkien's era, such as C.S. Lewis, etc., etc. It's the brand name of the author name. Our writing. We are the brand. If somebody picks up my books, once they're out and about in a wide enough, circle for people to pick up, they're going to know my books because of my writing style. Assuming one could actually claim I actually have one. They're going to pick up the books because my name is on them. They're going to pick up books by Kevin Knepper because his name is on them. And because people like reading his work. People are going to pick up Tolkien's work because his name is on them. They might not even necessarily have ever heard of The Lord of the Rings or seen the movies when they pick up the book for the first time. His name is his brand. His writing style is his brand. The titles are not the brands. The covers are not the brands, although they may make things a little bit somewhat more identifiable if you do something over and over and over again, but then you got the issue of being declared repetitive. Again, titles are not brands. Covers are not brands. You, the writer, you are the brand. You are what these people are going to look for when they go out and pick up a book. To use an example, Miss Tisdale. And again, I love her take on this entire mess. And yes, I am going to try to look for McKenna's Honor at some point. We've got the local bookstore over here. I'm going to actually probably tomorrow, I'm going to look into that. Actually, I should give them a call tonight. But anyway, Miss Tisdale's name is her brand. Professor Tolkien's work, his name is the brand. J.K. Rowling's work, her name is the brand. Stephen King, his name is the brand. Dean Koontz, his name, oops, sorry about that. His name is the brand. My arm is getting a little tired, so I'm kind of... Stop trying to trademark titles. Stop trying to trademark covers. Again, unless you have a specific brand that is in the form of a multimedia brand, again, Harry Potter, and these days potentially, yeah, you could make the claim The Lord of the Rings, you have no brand other than your name. That's all you need is your name. If you're good enough, people will read you. To use a paraphrase from Field of Dreams, if you write it well, the readers will come. That's all you need. That's all you need. So again, just to sum this up, Copygate is potentially over, as far as we know, at least that particular issue, as Felina Hopkins has surrendered all rights to Cocky. She has surrendered the trademark. It is still right now, I believe, listed as live, but we will see what happens in the next couple of months, as long as that actually is a legitimate thing. There's that. The case against Miss Watson and Miss Crescent has been dismissed with prejudice, which means it's not coming back to that court as far as I'm aware. As far as I'm aware, that basically means they're not coming back to that case unless something truly extraordinary comes up. And even then, I don't think it actually can be tried in the same court. I'm not a lawyer. I could be wrong about this. So first off, let me say to Felina Hopkins, thank you for coming to your senses about this. You know, give it some time. Eventually, the writing community will be more than willing to forgive and forget. Or at the very least to forgive. I don't know if they'll ever forget, but they will forgive. As long as you keep yourself sincerely honest about this, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem. To everybody who's trying to copy what she started, please, for the love of God, stop. Surrender these trademarks. Stop causing this kind of drama. We don't need this in the writing community. This crosses all genres. This crosses all, whether it's, fiction, nonfiction, whatever. We're supposed to be writers. We're supposed to entertain and or educate. We're not supposed to cause drama amongst ourselves, and our readers probably aren't going to want to have to deal with it. So please, for the love of God, stop. To everybody else, sorry for the length of this video. Sorry about the early parts of this video, as I did have the hiccups. It has passed as I have spoken. Thank God. Again, to Mr. Kevin Nepper, whatever, I'm sorry. I can't figure out how to pronounce your last name, sir. Thank you for your help to the Romance Writers Association of America, or, excuse me, the Romance Writers of America. Romance Writers, I'm not sure about you guys either. Thank you to the RWA, let me put it that way, for getting involved. Thank you to the lawyers who did get involved in this case to work pro bono to defend Miss Tara and Miss Crescent. Ms. Tisdale, if I may, Susan, your takes on this whole mess have been absolutely awesome. And again, I am going to take a look for that one book that you did recommend to me as a starter. I'm not really a romance reader myself, but again, I love the way you have taken this entire situation. And, every so often you got to broaden your horizons anyway. So yeah, I think I'll take a look into it. Thank you very much again to everybody involved who has kept this situation developed and aware for the rest of the internet and the rest of the writing and reading communities. Right now, we have finished, for now, Copygate, unless something develops. We now have Trademark Gate. We've got to fight the good fight for a little while longer. Hopefully, this will end sooner rather than later. Again, I say to everybody involved who has fought the good fight and is continuing to fight the good fight, thank you very much. God bless, and keep writing. This is Warwolf, howling on out.